Before the sun rose, the city was silent. No traffic, no voices, no pressure. In one small room, a man lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. He was awake, but not ready. The alarm had already rung 3 times. He reached for his phone without thinking. Messages, videos, news. His mind became noisy before his feet touched the floor. This was how his life started every day. Not with purpose, not with control, with reaction. He finally stood up, already late. His heart was fast. His head felt heavy. He rushed through the morning like a man being chased. No plan, no direction, only stress. This man was not lazy. He worked hard. He dreamed big. But every night, he asked himself the same question. Why does my life feel stuck? He tried many things. Motivation videos, to-do lists, new routines. Each time, he felt strong for 2 or 3 days. Then everything collapsed. The problem was not effort. The problem was a start. One night, after another failed day, he sat alone in silence. No phone, no noise, just a tired mind. That night, he read something old. Not modern advice, not a hack, a samurai teaching. It said, "The battle of life is decided before the sun rises." The words stayed in his mind. He did not fully understand them, but he felt their weight. The next morning, the alarm rang again. His hand moved toward the phone. Then it stopped. He remembered the line. The battle is decided before the sun rises. He sat up. The room was dark. The air was quiet. For the first time, he did not rush. He placed his feet on the floor and stood still. He took one slow breath. Then another. His mind resisted. This is useless. You are wasting time. But he stayed. This was the first battle. The samurai believed mornings were sacred. Not for work, for control. The man walked to the window. The sky was slowly changing color. Dark blue to soft orange. He breathed again. No music. No phone. Just breath. 3 minutes passed. His body felt lighter. His mind felt clear. This was strange. Nothing big had changed. But something inside him had shifted. He stretched his body slowly. Neck, arms, back. No pressure. Just movement. Then he sat at a small desk. He took a notebook and a pen. The page was empty. Before, he used to write long lists. 10 tasks, 20 goals. Today, he wrote one line. Today, I will complete one important thing. Just one. This was the rule. The samurai never fought many enemies at once. They chose one. He closed the notebook. 10 minutes had passed. Only 10. But he felt ready. That day was not perfect. He still got distracted. He still felt tired. But something was different. He did not feel lost. At night, he noticed it. The day did not control him. He had entered the day with intention. The next morning, he tried again. Alarm. No phone. Breathing. Stretch. One intention. The second day was easier. The third day felt normal. By the 5th day, it felt strange to skip it. He began to understand the samurai method. It was not about waking early. It was about waking with awareness. One morning, he failed. He touched his phone. He stayed in bed too long. Old guilt returned. I ruined everything, he thought. Then he remembered another samurai rule. A warrior who falls does not quit. He stands again. He stood up. He breathed. Even late, he did the ritual. That day taught him something powerful. A routine does not need perfection. It needs return. Slowly, his mornings became calm. His voice became softer. His thoughts became clear. People around him noticed. You seem peaceful, they said. You don't rush anymore. They did not know his secret. It was not discipline. It was design. The first 10 minutes of his day changed everything. But the story did not end there. One morning, after the ritual, he sat to wake. 5 minutes later, his phone vibrated. Then another message. Then another. His focus broke. The calm morning could not protect the whole day. A new enemy appeared. Distraction. The samurai had a word for this. A scattered mind. The man realized something important. Winning the morning was only the beginning. To truly change his life, he had to learn how to fight the day. In the next part, he would learn how samurai use focus like a blade. One strike, one target. Because a calm morning means nothing if the mind is lost by noon. The man had changed his mornings. He woke with calm. He breathed before touching the world. He chose one clear intention. For the first time, his day did not begin with panic. But by midday, the old problem returned. Noise. His phone vibrated. Emails arrived. Thoughts jumped. He sat at his desk and tried to work. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. He opened another tab. Then another. His hands moved, but nothing finished. He looked at the clock. 1 hour gone. His chest felt tight. Why is this happening? He thought. I started well. That night, he felt confused. The morning ritual worked. So why did the day still escape him? He remembered another old samurai teaching he once read. A warrior does not swing the sword many times. One clean strike ends a fight. The words hit him hard. His problem was clear. He was fighting too many enemies at once. He tried to answer every message. He tried to finish many tasks. His mind was everywhere. The samurai fought differently. They chose one target. The next morning, after his ritual, he tried a new rule. He sat down and asked one question. What is the one task that matters today? Not the easiest, not the urgent, the most important. He wrote it on paper. Then he did something difficult. He turned his phone face down. His heart beat faster. What if something important happens? What if I miss something? Fear appeared, but he stayed. This was a real fight. Not work, but control. He set a timer for 40 minutes. No music, no messages, no movement, just work. The first 10 minutes were painful. His mind looked for escape. His body wanted to move. He almost picked up the phone. Then he remembered. One blade, one strike. He stayed still. At minute 15, the noise slowed. His thoughts became fewer. At minute 25, he felt something new. Focus. Not forced. Natural. He was inside the task. When the timer rang, he stopped. He leaned back. The task was not finished, but it was real progress. Deep progress. This was different from before. This was a focus block. The samurai trained their mind like they trained their body. Short, intense sessions. Then rest. That day, he did 2 focus blocks. Only 2, but he finished more work than usual. He felt tired, but satisfied. That night, he slept deeply. The next day, he repeated it. Some days were strong. Some days were weak. One afternoon, his phone buzzed during a focus block. Without thinking, he picked it up. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Focus was gone. Anger filled his chest. I failed again, he thought. Old self-hate returned. Then he remembered another samurai truth. Losing stance is not failure. Refusing to return is. He put the phone in another room. He restarted the timer. Even though the block was not perfect, he finished it. That day taught him a powerful lesson. Focus is not about never falling. Focus is about returning fast. He also learned another rule. Do not make focus blocks too long. Some days, 25 minutes worked better. Other days, 60 minutes felt right. The samurai listened to their body. So did he. Slowly, his confidence changed. He stopped saying, I can't focus. He started saying, I know how to enter focus. People noticed again. You finished things now. They said, you seem serious. They thought he worked more. He did not. He worked deeper. But after 1 week, another problem appeared. By evening, his energy dropped. His focus was gone. His body felt empty. Even with discipline, he felt tired. He understood something important. A blade without care becomes dull. Focus needs support. He needed strength that lasted the whole day. Small strength. Daily strength. The samurai did not rely on one strike. They built power slowly. The man looked at his system. Morning, strong. Focus blocks, strong. But between them, energy leaked. He was missing something. Something small. Something simple. In the next part, he would learn how tiny habits create armor, how small wins protect energy, how momentum is built without motivation, because focus alone can cut, but only armor can protect. The man had learned to win his mornings. He had learned to focus like a blade. But even with focus, some days fell heavy. Energy dropped by noon. Tasks piled up. Motivation disappeared. He wondered, why do some days feel impossible, even when I try my best? One quiet evening, he remembered another samurai lesson. A warrior is not strong from one battle. He is strong because of many small victories. Suddenly, he understood. Focus alone was like a sharp sword, but it could break if not supported. He needed armor built from small wins. The next morning, he decided to try something new. He stopped thinking about completing everything. He stopped trying to fight all battles at once. Instead, he focused on tiny actions. The first rule was simple. Start small, very small. Instead of saying, I will work for 2 hours, he said, I will work for 2 minutes. 2 minutes felt easy. No fear, no pressure. He started a task. After 2 minutes, he continued. After 4 minutes, he continued again. This became his 2-minute rule. Movement created energy. Stillness created doubt. The second rule was habit stacking. The samurai trained by linking movements, one after another. He did the same. Morning tea, review main task. Lunch, 5-minute walk. Evening, write 1 sentence in the notebook. No thinking, no stress. Each small win added armor to his day. The third rule was make progress visible. He drew small boxes in his notebook. Every win, 1 mark. 2 minutes of work, mark. Focus block, mark. Walk, mark. At the end of the day, he could see his progress. Even on hard days, 1 mark reminded him, I did not fail. Days passed. Some days were easy. Some days were hard. But the small wins built momentum. Momentum became stronger than motivation. He no longer waited for the energy to appear. Energy followed the system. Then a test came. One afternoon, he was exhausted. Tasks were overwhelming. His mind screamed to quit. Old habits returned. He almost gave up. Then he remembered the samurai words. 1 action is enough to keep the chain alive. He did 1 tiny thing. Just 1. And it saved the day. That night, he reflected. He realized the real power of small wins. Consistency over effort. Movement over thinking. Progress over perfection. He began to understand another truth. Energy is not created by force. Energy is created by rhythm. Work, rest, move, breathe. Even 5 minutes of rest gave him strength. The samurai knew this. He applied it. The armor grew stronger each day. Distractions still came. Tiredness still appeared. But he was protected. Small wins created a buffer. Momentum carried him. He became reliable. He became predictable, in a good way. People noticed a change. You finish things faster, they said. You seem calm and strong. They did not see the system, the small steps, the 2-minute rules, the habit stacks, the tiny wins. But the man knew. He knew the truth. Big actions alone cannot change a life. Small, repeated wins create unstoppable momentum. 1 week later, he faced another test. A busy day, unexpected meetings, a sudden deadline. He felt weak, energy low, focus broken. Old self would quit. But this time, he did 1 small win. He opened the notebook. He wrote 1 line, 1 step, and he returned to the day. Slowly, momentum rebuilt itself. He realized a powerful samurai truth. A warrior who stands after fall is stronger than one who never fell. The armor of small wins protected him. Focus was a sword. Small wins were the shield. Together, they made him unstoppable. Yet another lesson waited. The world outside still demanded more. Distractions, interruptions, people, noise. Focus and small wins worked in calm moments. But life is never calm. In the next part, he would learn how to build a dojo around his routine, a system to protect his armor, a structure to survive chaos, because a warrior without boundaries is a sword without a sheath. In the quiet hours before dawn, The village lay cloaked in mist, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Presence Purpose, the young seeker, stood alone outside the dojo, the wooden floor beneath him cold and solid. He had walked many miles to reach this moment, yet the journey inside was far more treacherous. Musashi's teachings were no longer words. They were a living trial. Each breath, each movement, carried the weight of countless warriors who had come before him, each leaving behind their own failures and triumphs. The master, an old man with eyes like steel and hair like frost, approached silently. "Strength," he said, "is not in the sword. It is in the spirit that wields it." Presence Purpose nodded, feeling the words sink into the marrow of his bones. They were simple, yet deceptively deep, like the reflection of the moon in a still pond, easy to see, but impossible to hold. The first trial was one of endurance. Musashi instructed him to strike, not with fury, but with patience. Every swing of the wooden sword was mirrored by the rhythm of his heartbeat. A warrior's greatest enemy, Musashi explained, is not the opponent before him, but the weakness within him. Presence Purpose struggled. His arms ached, his mind wavered, and doubt whispered cruelly. But as he continued, he discovered something unexpected. With each repetition, his movements became sharper, more precise. His mind, once clouded with fear, began to clear. This was no ordinary training. It was transformation. Days turned into nights, nights into days. The sun rose and fell like a steady drumbeat, marking time that seemed both infinite and fleeting. Presence Purpose began to notice small victories. His vision sharpened. He could anticipate movements before they happened. His body, once clumsy, now flowed like water, each step purposeful, each strike deliberate. Musashi watched silently, a shadow among shadows, allowing the student to wrestle with himself. But mastery was not only about the body. One evening, under the dim light of lanterns, Musashi presented a different challenge. A bowl of water, a candle, and a mirror were placed before Presence Purpose. "Control yourself," Musashi said simply, "or be consumed by what you cannot control." Confused, Presence Purpose stared at the setup. Then he understood. The task was to maintain absolute calm while performing a delicate action. One slip, one tremor, and the water would spill, the candle would flicker, the reflection would shatter. He tried. The first attempt ended in disaster. Water spilled over the edge. The candle flame danced wildly. The mirror reflected chaos. Frustration surged. He clenched his fists, his breath quickened, and his mind raced. Musashi, calm as the mountains, only observed. Again, the master instructed, voice as steady as the earth. Time seemed suspended. Presence Purpose tried again, focusing not on the outcome, but on the process. He breathed slowly, attuned to the rise and fall of his chest. Every movement was deliberate, every gesture purposeful. Gradually, the water stayed still. The candle flame held steady. The mirror reflected nothing but serenity. A surge of clarity washed over him. Musashi's lesson was no longer abstract. He had lived it. True strength, he realized, was mastery over oneself before mastery over the world. As the days passed, Presence Purpose was introduced to another layer of Musashi's teaching, the philosophy of observation. They walked silently through forests, across rivers, and over rocky cliffs. Musashi would stop, point, and ask questions that seemed absurd at first. "Tell me what this stone wants to teach you." Listen to the wind. Hear the silence. At first, the young student struggled to see lessons in such mundane things. But slowly, he began to perceive patterns, rhythms, and truths hidden in plain sight. He realized that every detail in life held wisdom if one knew how to look. One evening, atop a ridge overlooking the valley, Musashi spoke of fear. "Fear is a shadow," he said. "It follows you only as long as you chase it. Face it, and it vanishes. Avoid it, and it grows." Presence Purpose reflected on his own life. The moment he had shied away, the opportunities lost to hesitation. Fear, he saw, was a barrier that had held him back. And now, with practice, discipline, and insight, that barrier began to crumble. Musashi also emphasized the importance of adaptability. "The river does not resist a rock," he said. "It flows around it." Presence Purpose understood that life was unpredictable, full of obstacles beyond one's control. Strength was not rigidity, but flexibility. It was learning to bend without breaking, to respond without reacting, and to move forward without fear. In the final days of this phase of training, Presence Purpose faced a test unlike any before. Musashi arranged a mock duel, not with swords, but with strategy. Each move required calculation, intuition, and foresight. The exercise pushed him to think beyond instinct, to anticipate not just his opponent's actions, but the consequences of every choice. When the duel ended, Musashi nodded. You have learned more than technique. You have learned presence. You have learned purpose. Presence Purpose felt a swell of pride, but also humility. He realized that mastery was not a destination, but a journey, a continuous process of challenge, reflection, and growth. Musashi's teachings were not a set of rules, but a way of life, one that demanded courage, patience, and relentless self-awareness. As he left the dojo that morning, mist swirling around his feet, he felt a quiet confidence. The lessons of endurance, control, observation, fear, and adaptability had woven themselves into his being. The world outside awaited, unpredictable and vast, but he was no longer the same person who had arrived days ago. Presence Purpose understood now that true strength was invisible. It lived in the mind, in the heart, and in the unshakable resolve to walk one's path with integrity. And so, with the first light of dawn illuminating the horizon, he took his steps forward. Each step was deliberate, each breath conscious. The journey was far from over, but the foundations of true mastery had been laid. Musashi's shadow followed, not as a guide to command him, but as a reminder that the path to greatness was not paved with shortcuts. It was forged in the crucible of self-mastery. In that stillness, Presence Purpose smiled. The next chapter awaited, but he now carried with him the strength to face whatever trials life would present. The warrior within had awakened, not from a desire to conquer others, but from the unyielding drive to conquer himself. The morning sun broke over the mountains like molten gold, casting long shadows across the village. Presence Purpose stood at the edge of the training grounds, his heart steady, his mind sharp. The journey had been long, filled with sweat, pain, and countless lessons, but he felt a new energy coursing through him. It was not just strength, it was clarity, focus, and a deep understanding of the world and his place within it. Musashi appeared beside him, silent as a wind. The old master's eyes, still bright with wisdom, studied the young man with approval. You have walked far, he said softly, but the final path is not about the sword, the trial, or even victory. It is about understanding the essence of life itself. Presence Purpose nodded. He had learned endurance, patience, observation, and self-control. He had faced fear, adapted to challenges, and gained insight into the rhythms of life. Now, it was time to weave all those lessons together. The final test was not a duel, nor a single task, but a journey of reflection and choice. Musashi led him to a cliff overlooking a vast valley. The wind was strong, and the drop below was dizzying. Life, Musashi said, is like this cliff. It is wide, unpredictable, and often dangerous. To stand at the edge is to face the truth of existence. You must decide, will you step forward, or will fear hold you back? Presence Purpose closed his eyes, feeling the wind on his face. Memories of every struggle, every failure, and every triumph during his training passed through his mind. He remembered nights when exhaustion threatened to break him, days when doubt clouded his every thought, and moments when small victories illuminated the path forward. Each memory carried a lesson, each lesson a step toward the person he had become. He opened his eyes and saw the valley stretching endlessly before him. The rivers sparkled like silver threads, the forest swayed with life, and the mountains stood as silent sentinels. In that moment, he realized that life was not something to control. It was something to navigate with awareness, courage, and purpose. Strength was not just physical power. It was the ability to act decisively, to remain calm under pressure, and to choose wisely in every moment. Musashi spoke again, his voice calm but powerful. A true warrior does not seek to conquer others. He seeks to conquer himself. Only then can he act with clarity, live with honor, and face the world without fear. Presence Purpose understood fully. All the training, all the trials, had been a mirror showing him who he really was, and who he could become. The sword was no longer just a weapon. It was a symbol of discipline, focus, and the unbreakable will. Every lesson Musashi had taught now pulsed through him like a river of light, guiding his thoughts, his actions, and his spirit. The young warrior stepped forward, not recklessly, but with balance, awareness, and intent. He looked down at the valley below and felt the wind embrace him. He was not afraid, for he had learned that fear was only a shadow that vanished when faced directly. With a final, steady breath, he opened his heart to the possibilities of life, both the challenges and the triumphs. As he stood there, Musashi placed a hand on his shoulder. "You are ready," he said simply, "not because you have mastered the sword, but because you have mastered yourself." Presence Purpose smiled, feeling a calm confidence that had nothing to do with pride. It was a quiet strength of knowing one's path, the clarity of purpose that could not be shaken, and the awareness that life's battles are fought first within. The master stepped back, allowing him to stand alone, for this was his moment, not a test, but a beginning. He returned to the village not as a boy seeking guidance, but as a warrior carrying the wisdom of generations. Every step was deliberate, every action conscious, and every word spoken with intent. People noticed a change immediately. His presence commanded respect, not through force, but through the quiet certainty of someone who had faced himself and emerged stronger. Life, he realized, was a series of choices. Each challenge, each moment of doubt, was an opportunity to apply the lessons Musashi had imparted. Patience, discipline, observation, adaptability, and courage were no longer abstract concepts. They were living parts of him, guiding his every decision. He began to teach others, not as a master of swords, but as a guide of presence and purpose. Those who listened learned that true power comes from self-mastery, that control over the mind is more formidable than control over any opponent, and that fear is a companion to be understood, not an enemy to be avoided. The village prospered under his quiet influence. Conflict was resolved not by aggression, but by understanding. Weakness was transformed into strength, hesitation into action, and despair into hope. Presence Purpose had become more than a warrior. He was a living embodiment of Musashi's teachings, a testament to the truth that the greatest battles are within, and the greatest victories are over oneself. Years later, he would reflect on the journey. Every challenge, every trial, and every lesson had been essential. He understood now that Musashi's greatest gift was not a set of techniques, but a philosophy of life, a way to navigate the chaos of the world with clarity, strength, and honor. Presence Purpose realized that mastery is never complete. It is a lifelong pursuit, a continuous refinement of mind, body, and spirit. But the foundation had been laid, and with it, the courage to face whatever life would bring. The warrior within had awakened fully, not through conquest or glory, but through discipline, awareness, and an unyielding commitment to the self. As the sun set over the valley, casting long shadows across the land, Presence Purpose stood tall. The wind carried whispers of the mountains, the rivers sang songs of endurance, and the forest whispered secrets of patience. He listened, and he understood. The journey was eternal, but he was ready. In that moment, he became more than a seeker. He became a presence of purpose, a living proof that true strength begins within, that mastery over oneself is a key to mastery over life, and that the path of the warrior is a path of clarity, courage, and unwavering self-discipline. And so, with the lessons of Musashi etched into every fiber of his being, Presence Purpose stepped forward into the world. The challenges ahead were unknown, the battles uncertain, but he carried a certainty that could not be shaken, the certainty that the true warrior fights first within, and victory begins in the heart.